Hello and welcome everyone to this month's Insight Jam session, Analytics 2025, Ignore These Trends at Your Peril. A little bit of housekeeping first for all of you on Insight Jam members, all 2,500 of you. Hope you're enjoying the new platform. And for the 500,000 of you YouTube viewers, well, welcome to this month's show. Can you believe 2025 is nearly here? 2024 was such a whirlwind with AI's disruption, breaking business models, technology paradigms. Analytics has been at the center of this revolution. And now as we enter 2025, it's time to really think about what should you be doing, building those plans, etc. New thinking is certainly required. New capabilities must be considered. And new investments need to be made. So where are we as we leave 2024? Let's just take a quick moment to think about that. Well, complexity reigns at every organization I encounter. The data foundations, they're distributed, they're diverse, they're distinct, yet these architectures still remain very fragile and difficult to evolve and change. The analytics tools, fabulous analytics tools acquired over many years and great capabilities, yet there's still holes, there's gaps, and then there's overlapping capabilities. And that, how do we rationalize and take advantage? And then finally, the roster of user types, if you think about it from spreadsheet users to data scientists, it continues to expand and evolve. And so some more capabilities and support are required. Looking ahead to 2025, what are some of the trends that are too important to ignore? Well, we'll explore that today with the panel, who I'll introduce in a moment. But here's a couple of thoughts that I have from my research. First of all, you see this AI driven natural language interfaces that are kind of complementing and even replacing some of the visual drag and drop designs that we're used to in our analytic tools. So that's certainly a trend, something that's changing. You're also getting a lot of AI and ML driven insights that supplement the traditional data analytics capabilities and are uncovering new insights that were previously unknown. New centralized data stores, metric stores, are enabling better sharing of models and data and analytics. We're getting storytelling presentation techniques, data storytelling, that's improving actionability, collaboration capabilities are improving, etc. And I'm sure as you'll learn today, there's many, many more. So what's an analytics leader to do in this environment, this changing environment, these new trends, these new capabilities? Well, this is the time of year where you build your plan, right, for the coming year, the 2025 plan. And to help guide you in building that plan, we've brought together three experts. Jitendra Aswani, who's the VP of Engineering and Security at Startree. We'll let each of these guys talk, give them a little bit of background about themselves, but I'll just introduce them all to begin with. Ryan Dolly, who's the VP of Product Strategy at Good Data, and Prashant Stuthankal, who founded the DBP Institute. I'm having a little trouble using my words today. Anyway, good to have all of you join us today. Let's start with you, Prashant. What do you do? Tell us about yourself, your company, and your role at your firm.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Prashant Stuthankal. I'm based in Calgary, Canada. I'm the founder and managing principal of DBP Institute, which stands for Data for Business Performance, which incidentally happens to be my first book, the orange one on the left side. So I do basically two things. One is consulting, where I help companies get value out of data and analytics, where I've consulted for some big names such as Apple, P&G, GE, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, I consulted for small companies, which are about 5 million in revenue. But the problem I have seen, whether it's a big company or the small company, is the same. How do we get value from data and analytics? The size, complexity, and scale might vary, but the fundamental question remains the same. What is the strategy to get value out of data and analytics? In that journey, I have seen that the biggest enabler for change is education, is training, or literacy. That brings to my second role, where I'm an educator. I have consulted for, or I have trained for corporates such as Whirlpool, ExxonMobil, and so on and so forth. I've also trained for professional associations like AFP, Supply Chain Canada, so on and so forth. And also, I'm an adjunct professor at IE Business School in Madrid, Spain. And on top of it, I've written the 3 books behind me. So that's it about me. And good to be here, and looking forward to learn from Rob, Duran, and Jitender, as well as share some of the thoughts which I have been seeing while talking to my clients and my other stakeholders.
Great, Prashant. Thank you. Jatinder, tell us about you and your role at Startree.
Well, thank you, Rob, first and foremost, for having us at this Inside Jam session. I lead engineering at Startree. Startree is a company behind Apache Pinot. Those of you who do not know, Apache Pinot powers over 220 applications at LinkedIn and also is the preferred data platform at Uber. The technology was open sourced in 2019, and we're the company that is providing Startree Cloud, which is real-time data analytics platform. There are over 1.3 billion queries that happen per week on our platform, which is unheard of because all of us know the analytics used to be dominion of tens of users. But what LinkedIn, Uber, DoorDash, and others have shown us is that this is the decade where millions of users are now consuming analytics. This is all because of real-time data and streaming architecture. So we're so excited to continue to fuel that innovation on real-time analytics.
Great. Ryan, tell us about you. And
happy to. So thanks to be here. Really thrilled to be here with these guys. So I'm Ryan Daly. I'm VP of Product Strategy at Good Data. And I've been in the analytics industry now for 15 years or so, as like every role you can think of. So consulting, I've been on BI, DW teams, and that sort of thing. Now I lead the overall product and product strategy, product marketing practice at Good Data. And what we are is really an analytics platform that combines AI, BI, and ML into a kind of a single architecture that's has maybe a data product and data engineering focus. So unlike traditional analytics platforms, which are quite frequently UI only, we have APIs and SDKs for everything, and we really kind of embrace the lessons of software engineering and bringing those things into the data workflow. I also have a side gig, if you will, as the co-host of the Super Data Brothers show, which is a show I do with my brother Eric, who is the head of business intelligence at Michigan State University. And Jitender might actually be interested to know that we just built a Pinot connector, by the way, for Good Data. So we're a big fan of the tech.
Great.
Thank you, Ryan.
Well, let's dig in a little bit. And Ryan, with that title, Product Strategy, you certainly have to stay on top of the trends and make sure that Good Data's products are there to meet those trends. Where do you see analytics going this year? What's one or two areas, and then we'll bounce around and hear from Jitender and Prashant too. We each with contributed a couple of ideas and visions of what they see analytics in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest trends I see, and it's driven by AI, but it's not, I would say, AI itself. It's the application of maybe some classic ideas in data warehousing and analytics that we got away from over the course of the 2010s, kind of in the big data era. So you think about things like data modeling, for example, that went out of fashion, semantics and metadata that went out of fashion. If you look at Startree, like Startree uses this term OLAP, which I thought for a while I would never hear again. Like I thought the term OLAP was gone. But now we talk about OLAP again. And I think what's driving this really is that AI requires a level of data quality and consistency and reproducibility that we've been struggling with lately. And I think in 2025 will be a big year of getting your data house in order, maybe using some of these older ideas, bringing them back into fashion in order to take advantage of AI as AI use cases make themselves more clear and emerge.
Well, that's great. And that's great advice, as people are building their plan. Get our data house in order. That's real clear, real clear. Jatinder, what do you think? What's a trend you see?
Yeah. So I always say, in order to know where we're going, we need to know where we're coming from. And I think Ryan did a pretty good job of touching upon that. A lot of these things are back because data quality is first and foremost, most paramount to getting good insights from the data. Coming back to real-time analytics, we have seen companies gain significant competitive advantages. Companies in retail, logistics, blockchain, which is amazing, is that how many companies have built user-facing analytics on blockchain, and then IoT and e-commerce. Also, banking, fraud analytics hasn't gone away. This is becoming very, very, very strong and dominant. So I continue to see that this is the decade where streaming architecture continues to gain more significant ground, and real-time analytics has jumped as a number one strategic priority. Used to be number 4 strategic priority coming into 2024. Now going into 2025, this is top of mind because what Ryan just mentioned, as the interface changes, you need data. You need data that is streaming right in, and you want analytics on in to continue to power your just gain more significant competitive advantages.
Got it. Thank you, Jatinder. Streaming. Now, Prashanth, you're with that new book titled Data Quality. You're not going to talk about data quality as being important, and you're not going to validate what Ryan had to say, are you?
Okay. So, given my background as a service provider and as an educator, before I get into my trend, I'll just give my definition of data analytics, where I see the data analytics is basically 4 key building blocks. The first one is all about digitization, including data capture and management. Second one is all about data integration and data engineering, because all said and done, data is not there in one system, in one format, in one type. It is diverse, it is distributed. So it all has to be integrated and engineered so that you have a canonical form of data or a consistent form to do your data science, which takes to the third phase, which is all about the data science. That's where products from Good Data and Startree comes into Good Data especially comes into the picture. The last one is, which I call it as decision science, stroke performance management. Once you get those insights, what do we do with those insights? So those insights are used to measure and improve your business performance. So I look at the whole analytics lifecycle as 4 stages: data capture, data integration, data science, and decision science, stroke performance management. Having said this, what I see while talking to my clients, my prospects, and other stakeholders, basically 3 things from now and beyond 2025 or even 2026 and beyond. The first one is about moving from artificial intelligence to augmented intelligence. I still call it as AI, but my definition of AI, I think, will change, or my abbreviation of AI will change from artificial intelligence to augmented intelligence. I will explain probably later when there's an opportunity to explain, to share what that means. That's number 1. Next, number 2, we have discussed a lot of things about data being an asset, data being oil, blood, and all those things. But I think the next few years, we are going to transform that discussion to data products and data monetization. It's not just about data resource or data asset. It's more about data products, because that's where the value is coming, given that we are capturing tons of data. And the last one, Robert, you know where I would be going? Data quality. For all those things, we need good data quality. So the data quality will remain a challenge, especially for data science and analytics activities. I call the purpose of data as 3 main things: operations, compliance, and analytics. For operations and compliance, it is pretty much deterministic. So it will be pretty much straightforward. Say procurement, for instance. I want to know how many purchase orders or the average cost of purchase orders for last quarter. It's pretty deterministic. Whereas analytics is all hypothesis based. It's all depend on the question which you are asking. The more complex question you have, the probability of data being available is kind of questionable. So analytics, all said and done, will be the data quality for analytics will always be a challenge. So the third point third trend which I would see is on improved data quality, especially for analytics, AI, and everything.
Thank you, Prashanth. Ryan, I want to circle back on something Prashanth said, because he mentioned the data products. And you mentioned the data products as being critical. And, I think when we think about traditional analytics, we think about reports and dashboards and things like that. But as you were describing your capabilities and focus, you went right to data products, which is a level below the dashboards and stuff. So can you expand on your point on data products and Prashant's point on data products and why that's an important trend for the coming year?
Yeah, this is a super hot topic in the industry right now, and I think for good reason. If you look at what we've done historically as data teams, most data teams have been a service organization. They've been ticket takers, and the way they measure their efficiency and the way they build their processes is to maximize their ability to field tickets, right? And what we see changing really rapidly is the adoption of this product thinking and product design principles into data, where instead of just trying to clear out tickets, what we're doing is we're digging much deeper into user needs and expectations. We're developing data assets like they were software products, which means launching MVPs, learning quickly, embracing some software engineering principles like code control and versioning and that sort of thing that we haven't always done, especially on the front end. When you talk about BI, like BI is so far from that world historically that these concepts are really, really new in BI. But and there's a great debate. What is a data product? The three of us might have three different answers, but what I would contend is that, it's the result of product thinking and applying product thinking to your data practice. So that could be a table, it could be a schema, it could be, some APIs that you make available to developers, or it could be a dashboard. All of those things, if they're developed using a product thinking process, qualify as a data product. And then, because we believe in this, and we kind of try to architect good data to support this way of thinking.
Got it. So, Jatinder, other trends you're seeing, particularly with that streaming lens, because there's no time to fool around when you're streaming.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just to build upon what Ryan and Prashant said, other way to think about data products is analytical applications. All of us are using these analytical applications. If you use LinkedIn, you're using analytical applications. If you use Uber today to track where the driver is or where your delivery is, same thing with DoorDash. If you are a merchant on Stripe platform and you're looking at all the analytics, that's all analytical applications. So what Ryan and Prashant said is that we have seen the rise of these analytical applications. If you have a storefront on Shopify, if you put your music on Spotify, if you are on Wix and have a website and you want to know users, user sessions, and funnel analytics, all of that is all your analytical applications, and these are powered by the next generation of technologies. So that trend is very strong. On the other trend, what we have seen in 2024 is the natural language is becoming the new interface, especially for interactive analytics. There is a place for analytical applications because these are well-defined, well-scoped use cases, and they get packaged as analytical applications or data products. But then there is always been a huge demand for interactive analytics, what we call ad hoc analytics. And that doesn't go anywhere. That is only becoming stronger and stronger as analytics goes from tens of users to millions of users. So I do see natural language becoming a very attractive and very useful interface. It will gain momentum, right? We have seen our customers ask for co-pilots, and it's not a gimmick anymore. I think that's Prashant said the same thing, is augmented analytics. And augmentation comes from when you have a co-pilot that is helping you with interactive analytics. We used to say drill down analytics. And I have done that with ChatGPT. Just using my own personal example, I've given it 1 year of my Peloton data and said, analyze. And it's amazing. It does an amazing job with just guiding me what kind of questions to ask. And if I ask open-ended questions, I mean, that's the beauty of analytics, is that you can ask open-ended questions and see what insights bubble up. And what has happened with this LLM powered analytics is that it actually guides you. It suggests you what next set of questions to ask. So I see natural language becoming the new interface for interactive analytics.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of trends already. So if I'm an analytics leader making my list of to-dos for next year, we've got get your data house in order. We've got streaming. We've got augmented intelligence with a little more detail from Jitendra in terms of natural language approach to that. We've got data assets, data products. We drilled into that a little bit more. What have we missed? Are those the biggies? Are we challenging these analytics leaders enough, or did we miss anything?
I would love to add one more.
Please.
And I think all of us can speak to it. APIs used to be the backbone of all modern distributed applications. A lot of us have built applications using APIs. And if you are launching an application, launching a product, and if you don't have APIs, that product won't be taken really well. Now we're seeing is that pretty much all industry leaders, all industry participants are focusing on bringing agents to the center stage. So I do see a significant rise in agentic analytic applications. We will have agents for all types of data sources, interfaces, whether it's ingestion related, query related, quality related, anomaly detection related. So you will see hundreds and thousands of agents surface. What used to be APIs are now agents because they have natural language interfaces. They can generate a thought. They can act on those thoughts. They can get the data, reason with that data, generate another thought. So we have seen this very exciting paradigm of what we call React, is generate a thought, reason on it. And I believe that 2025 is where we start to see agents take the dominant center stage and push APIs into the background. We used to build the applications using APIs. I see Microsoft, Salesforce, a lot of industry leaders are saying the next generation of applications will be powered by agents. So rise of agentic architecture in analytics as well.
Prashant, any other final trends?
No, I'll just stick to my three things, which I said earlier. But I just want to build on what Ryan and Jitendra just said, and you also alluded to it a few minutes back, is what I see from my perspective as there has been a lot of discussion on generating insights. So that's great. So we can generate insights quickly, cost effectively, and everything. That's fine. But the challenge which I see is converting those insights into business results. That's where I think the value of data products comes into the picture. When I talked about the three stages of data as a resource, data as an asset, data as a product, if you look at the way companies looked at data as a resource, when they are typically in the process of digitization, where they're looking at their manual processes and converting them into digitized assets, where they have output as the data. But that doesn't give real value. You can convert a process into a digital asset, but the real value comes when you have good, clean data. So that's where data as an asset comes into the picture. And we talked about OLAP as well earlier. That's where the data cleaning, data dimension, the star model, all those things comes into the picture. But again, you are moving forward. That's fine. But what is really required, which I think has been a big challenge ever since I started my career in data and analytics, is providing that value and putting the customer in the center of what we are doing with data analytics. I think that puzzle is still missing even today. And that's where I think the data products can potentially address the gap by bringing two key elements, which is the customer and the transactions, because that's where the real value is coming. I would give an analogy about this resource assets and products using oil and gas as one example. Just by having a lot of oil in the ground doesn't make you valuable. You have a resource which is there, fine, but you have to take that resource and make it into a crude oil. That's where oil becomes an asset. But having crude oil is also useless. There is only one customer of the crude oil, which is the refinery. So the refinery takes the crude oil and makes it into gasoline. That's where the real value is. And why gasoline is valuable? Because there is a real customer for gasoline, whereas there is no customer or there's just one customer for crude oil. So I think putting the customer is the key thing in generating insights. But Daniel Kahneman, our one of the greatest decision scientists in our age, has said too much of insight is also bad. So we are generating too much of insights, but using this has been a challenge, I feel.
So value, benefits. Is there low-hanging fruit out there in terms of achieving some benefits from analytics in 2025? Ryan, where do you see places where organizations might invest in new technology and gain benefit?
Well, I think there's a couple of ways to approach that, right? There's and I agree a lot with Prashant about data products in general, and he mentioned a couple of times, putting the customer in the center and monetization of data and that sort of thing, and that's one area that we really focus on in our customer base. But if I was a data leader, I think it's the first thing I'll say is, like there's this huge opportunity with AI, and when Jitendra mentioned agentic AI, I think that's going to be huge. But the question is, okay, where to put your chip down in 2025, right? And I think there's two things I would look at. The first one has to do with the access and ease of data discovery within my organization, for like the classic internal analytics stuff. And that is, can I embrace a natural language interface to make it so that people can answer questions in a way that they couldn't in the past? You think about the history of business intelligence. Business intelligence is not new. It's been around for 40 or 50 years, and we've pretty much maxed out at 15 to 20, maybe 25 if you're lucky, % of your employees who are interacting with business intelligence tools in any way, not just to create content, but we're literally doing anything in a BI tool, even just viewing a report, right? And I think the opportunity that exists in 2025 for your internal analytics is, does the natural language interface finally get us above that level where 50% or 75% of your employees can go in and ask a question? And you're not going to be able to do that on all your data probably in 2025. You're going to have to pick important domains of data where you can ensure accuracy and quality and all that sort of stuff. But that would be one thing I'd be looking at. And then the second one would be, okay, if we embrace this data product thinking, well, is that the key to actually unlocking value in our interactions with our customers? This is also an idea that's been around for a long time, 10 years plus, that people have been saying, oh, we've got all this amazing data. How do we turn it into more revenue? How do we turn it into a better customer service experience? And I think in a lot of ways, what we were lacking in the data industry is the product thinking and the ways of working that come out of, in many ways, software engineering, and applying that to data so that we can, develop MVPs and deliver them quickly and measure value quickly and actually start to integrate data into those value streams that stretch outside of our organization. So, I mean, those are the two things I would be focusing on.
It's interesting as you talk about monetization with respect to data products. It's almost you monetize products, people and services, and all of a sudden that forces a thinking that might not have existed in traditional analytics organizations who were
Yes.
all about, as you said, get the next report done, etc. That's an interesting concept. Well, Jitendra, where would you invest? Where would you counsel people to invest in the coming year? Technologies, people, process, etc.
Yeah, I would double down on what Ryan said earlier. If you are an analytics leader, I know you have a limited headspace, primarily because you're stretched. You have to keep making investment in the infrastructure. And infrastructure includes, should I continue to double down and make more investments in my batch architecture? Should I think about streaming architecture? If I have streaming architecture in place, how do I make it relatively easy and streamlined to extract data and insights out of my both batch data and real-time data? So I would suggest just double down on making investments in your data architecture and data infrastructure. And the trend is very clear. We have seen a massive shift in workloads from batch to streaming. And then what both Ryan and Prashant mentioned is that in order to get more insights, you have to act with urgency. Right? In one of our principles is freshness. We all know data loses value every hour, every 2 hours. What insight was relevant an hour ago is no longer relevant. So just invest in technologies that allows you to extract insights from data as it's fresh. So one of the key dimensions we advise our customers on is data freshness. And that's what matters for a lot of modern enterprises, is that they want to act as the data gets generated. And that's true. And then I would also say is that spend 10%, less than 10% of your energy and time and investment dollars on understanding how can I enable all users in the enterprise to leverage data. And that's where you have to think about bringing down the barriers, just level playing the field. Not everybody knows how to use the tools, how to write SQL, how to understand the data model. So just kind of make it level playing field for all users, truly focus on democratizing insights. And that's where I will say a lot of the artificial intelligence related tools come in. That's where the next generation of agentic architecture comes in. So double down on modernizing your data infrastructure. Focus on the data architecture. Data architecture is changing. If you think what Ryan said earlier, some of these paradigms faded into the backdrop, but remained relevant. Now they're resurfacing on the forefront, like data modeling, data quality, data governance. They do not go away. So just continue to modernize your data infrastructure, and then think about ways to extract the insights faster and make it more broadly available to your users. And that's where the next generation of tooling comes in.
That's great. And I really like your point, batch and streaming architectures. If you've made huge investments in your batch architecture, the marginal value of an additional investment may not return the same way if you're less developed on your streaming architecture. That next dollar, that next man year, that next consulting project, maybe or the next new piece of technology, if that was invested in streaming, you get a higher return just because you haven't taken advantage in earlier eras. You're not shining the pig, so to speak. I also like your point about freshness, acting with urgency, because that's how you could be more responsive to customers. And if you don't do it, your competitors will. But that's okay. They won't be your competitors for long because you'll be out of business. Prashant, what would you say? What would you advise an analytic leader to think about in 2025? Where would you have them focus?
Building on what Ryan, you and Jitendra were talking about, I would advise an analytics leader to think slightly differently. We all have been thinking about the whole analytics life cycle, which is the 4 stages which I discussed earlier, based on data, use the data to generate insights, and use those insights to make the right decisions to improve your performance, which is KPIs. That's the traditional thing, going from left all the way to the right to improve your performance through KPIs. I would also ask them to look from the other way around. Start from the right side. What are your KPIs? What decisions are at stake for these KPIs? And what insights do you need to make those decisions? And then what data do you need to derive those insights? So I'm not saying that the first thing is bad, the first process is bad. That's good, keep it. But also think about the other way, the reverse process as well. KPIs, decisions, insights, and data. That's what I would say. So focus, bring both this thinking together, because many times I have seen that we spend a lot of time in generating insights. And by the time we generate these insights become irrelevant, or they're kind of stale. Nobody cares about this insight. It's gone. Opportunity is lost. So So think about the other side so that we do both of the things together. They said some statistic which came out saying that 80% of the work in data analytics is all about data preparation and data engineering. So if you take 100 hours, 80 hours we are spending on this. And once you generate the insights, do you really need those insights? Is the opportunity still existing, and so on? So that's one big advice. Oh, that's not big advice. That's one advice which I have for analytics leader. Continue with your traditional process of data to KPIs, but also think about the reverse thing, KPIs to data.
So we've talked about a lot of things: natural language, data products, batch working, more streaming architecture, acting with urgency, number of items, a lot of things on that analytics leaders list for 2025. Okay, that's going to require resources. So how, let's help that analytics leader get those resources. What can we do to help them sell internally why they need more budget, why they need new technology, why they need consulting services? What kinds of things can we help them with? Maybe you guys have some customer stories on return on investment, et cetera. But what kinds of value can they use in their business case? Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah. So what we're seeing among our customer and prospect base is really a real premium put on kind of that, the data product and the customer facing part of it. That if you are able to make a case that you need these technology investments to tie it to initiatives related to, building and monetizing these analytics products. Like we have a really huge banking and payment processing customer that just signed a gigantic deal with us to totally revamp their their entire really analytics product portfolio offering. So this is someone who already has that. They already sell analytics driven products. Their IP, the value of the company is actually really the data they have. So this is an easier argument to make. But revamping that process where they can say, look, if we can take these new technologies and we can deliver to our customers some of the things that Jitendra and Prashant have been talking about related to, yes, quicker time to insight, but also surfacing insights that the customer didn't even know they needed, right? Proactively doing things, taking actions on the customer's behalf is something that we'll be looking to build out over the course of the year with this client of ours. These are the types of things that we're seeing investment in because it's easy to tie it to ROI. I do think it's been a very like 2024 and 2023 both were quite challenging years for many data leaders from a budget and momentum perspective, and I think finding a way to tie your infrastructure and technology and consulting services investments to, we're going to be offering this new experience that's going to unlock new revenue from outside the company from my perspective, is probably the easiest way to do it. I think we're just going to be more efficient internally, and because we're going to answer questions more quickly, and we'll make better decisions because we'll have better access to insights. That's a hard argument to make right now. I would say, at least it has been. Hopefully, in the near future, it won't be, and we'll return to a time where the data team's funding can support some of that stuff. But that's at least my perspective on it. I'm very interested to hear what these guys say. Prashant?
That's an excellent point to what Ryan was talking about, ROI or ROIC, which I call it, return on invested capital. And McKinsey did a study, and they said that the EBITDA increases with data analytics is up to 25%. But I didn't see 25% in my projects. I've seen about 8 to 12% in my range. But to build on what Ryan was saying, what I do in my consulting projects is, along with ROI, which Ryan was talking about, I add one more KPI or one more dimension to the whole thing: the loss of not doing data and analytics. You can say, if you do data analytics, your revenue goes up by 5%. That's fine. But what is the loss you are going to incur by not doing data analytics? Like, for example, let's take a simple thing like your health, for example. Nobody realizes the value of good health till you lose your health, till you have a headache or anything. The same thing with data analytics. Nobody realizes the value of data analytics if you tie back to the loss. Instead of saying that I'm going to give you 5% increase, you tell them, if you don't do it, you lose 3% in your sales. oh my gosh, this is really bad. My margins are going down. So that's also one of the selling points to do it. I'm not saying that you should not do ROI. You should do ROI, definitely. But also you should talk about the loss of not doing data analytics as well. The impact, I say so what of the data analytics. So yeah, just to add one more dimension to Ryan's point.
So Ryan's point was about greed. Your point's about fear.
The classic motivators, right?
Classic.
And then probably Jitendra, I think, will talk about the third point, which is doubt.
I love it. I love it. Fear,
well, let's
greed,
see what
and doubt.
Jitendra has to say. What do you got?
Yeah. I think first and foremost, I want to empathize with analytics leaders out there. It has become harder to build a business case on net new investment. So you have to approach it from all directions. So I really like the insights both Ryan and Prashant surfaced. Approach it from all directions. What successful analytics leaders in our customer base have done is approach it two ways. One, look at your current spend and see, is the current spend yielding the results that you expected? Is the, as you mentioned earlier, the every dollar we invest, are we getting marginal returns on it? Are we getting a pretty strong 10x or multi-x leverage on it? And if that's not happening, most of our successful customers have been able to approach it from replacement point of view. Is that, look, we're running these use cases on this type of analytics technology, this stack is not yielding results. It's just becoming too expensive. So one thing they have been successfully able to do is just take those dollars and then invest those dollars to increase the impact of the services, the insights, or the data products or analytic applications they've built. That's one approach. Just do a very hard look at your current analytics stack and see, is it yielding results? Second is what both Ryan and Prashant mentioned is identify where the pain is in the organization. It's a very classic product management approach, is that where do we have pain and who's looking for painkillers? A lot of the times analytics was considered vitamins. I mean, it's like, I think we have to turn this around. So it's not fear, greed, it's just pain. Where the pain is. And I think what we have seen is our customers come to us and say, hey, this dashboard loads very slow or does times out. And we're not able to timely deliver the insights. Our internal stakeholders do not like this product. They have stopped using it because it just has become too painful to use. Or the other thing is too painful to use is that, as I mentioned earlier, is that Prashant also mentioned, is that 80% of analytics is not meaningful because it's too late. So we want to act on data quickly. I will use one metric. In last few years, Kafka install base has gone from few thousands to hundreds of thousands. So that clearly indicates that all of these software applications are generating data faster, which means that all of your stakeholders are looking to get that analytics as fast as the data gets generated by these software applications. So my recommendation is that identify where the pain is, identify what are all these internal stakeholders. And in a lot of our cases, because our genesis was in user-facing applications, that's where you see it in Uber, LinkedIn, DoorDash, Stripe, Robinhood. A lot of these give analytics to their users. So they're looking for a stack that can truly deliver insights at the blink of an eye. Our internal SLAs are 10 milliseconds because human eye blinks within 300 milliseconds. They want data to refresh in less than 10 milliseconds. So go identify where the pain is and then go deliver the painkillers.
It's interesting what you're talking about, because in a sense, if you think of audiences, right? So the idea of we could get more revenue. So you get the sales leaders behind you. That's great, and that'll help fund things. But what you're talking about was we drill into products and differentiation. It's almost you have to get to the product people, the R&D people, the product strategy people. Those aren't conversations that I've seen traditional BI groups having, because one of the things that is in those groups is you have really smart people that can kind of figure out their own analytics. They don't have to rely on IT, or maybe they rely on IT 20% as much as the guys in marketing do, because they need more, it's just a wiring and a hiring technique. Do you guys see that in this talk about products? What would you advise an analytics leader to do to try to engage with that part of the organization, the R&D, the strategy? Ryan, you play that role inside Good Data. How can someone sell you, and how do you use your peer capability in helping Good Data sell software?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, so you are right that in a lot of cases, especially when you have digital products, the product team and the software engineering team is accustomed to building all this stuff themselves, right? And so, what you need, I think, is it's almost, I would almost say, the opportunity here is not even like the technology is important, having the right platforms and, data, getting the right data at the right time and making it available, making it so that software engineering and product teams even know what you have. Like oftentimes they're actually replicating things that the data team maybe already has, right? But they just don't know it. And it's pretty interesting. I was having a conversation yesterday with Anna Bergevin, who is a data product manager at ResMed, and it was very interesting to hear the approach that ResMed has taken. This is a company that has both physical and digital products. They're a medical device manufacturer, huge, and they actually embed product managers on the data team, whose job it is to go out and work with both, internal stakeholders, but also, and I think in a key way, those people building external revenue generating products, to look for opportunities for the data team. And that is a skill set that as a data leader, I would be looking to invest in, is someone who could come to me proactively as the product strategy executive here at Good Data and say, hey, I heard about what you guys were trying to do here, and I think we have something for you. Let me talk to you about it. And has the skills to sit down with me and be empathetic and understand my needs and help me uncover what they are. That's often something data teams struggle with is, you go to a user or an executive, and you say, what do you need? And the executive tells you, or the user tells you. Well, that's almost never it, right? There's what they think they need, and then there's what they really need, right? And that skill set, that is the product manager skill set, that user empathy, uncovering use cases. And so what I would recommend to data leaders is really consider adding someone with that product manager skill set to your data team who can lead that effort.
Well, and almost a clever technique, having managed organizations and tried to get resources across boundaries, would be, why don't you in the products department loan them to my department and teach us, so make my budget bigger and give me more resources to do what you want to do. Just a little extra technique. Let's shift gears here. We've got about 10 minutes left. And thanks for that. That was a good clarification, Ryan. Starting points. Okay, we've built the plan, coming into the year. Where would you advise people to get started? How to get more resources? I mean, Prashant, you guys provide services. Is it bringing more resources? Is it figuring out the low-hanging fruit projects? Where would you advise people that good places to get started for success in 2025?
No, I would build on what Jitendra was talking about, which could be either you create loss or ROIC or whatever, but ultimately they all go back to the pain points. What is the pain we are addressing here, and whose pain are we solving here? Because many times we do a good job in identifying the pain, but who is the one who is impacted with the pain, and does he have the appetite and the drive to solve this pain and convert that pain to results? Like I'll tell you a story about a project which I did. We did this project for a refinery which is close to where Ran is living, and we said if you do this kind of thing, you'll be able to save costs of $8 million per year. Though it might look like a very valuable thing and a very smart thing what we did, but the person who consumed that insight thought that this is like a performance appraisal of him, that we are able to find that opportunity which he has not done for the last 5 years, right? So you might have a great insight, great business case, but the person who is feeling that pain is not ready to take it, right? Because he feels the human aspect is not taken care of. So I'll go back to Jitendra's point that we do generate a lot of insights and everything. It might look like, oh, why are these people not taking it? Are they so whatever? But the real thing is, it's ultimately we are not solving a technology problem. We are all solving people's problem here. Often, I'm not saying all the time. Often we are solving people's problems. So that's what I would say. Identify the pain, and most importantly, whose pain are we solving?
And as you mentioned, how motivated are they to climb in the foxhole with you and basically do the work?
Yeah, exactly.
That human insight's a great point, Prashant. I appreciate that. Jitendra, where would you say people? What's a starting point? What do you advise?
If you look back, last 2 years, all of us have experienced economic headwinds. If you are a technology leader, budgets have not been growing; they have stayed stagnated. So, where should the next set of investment come from? And how do you find the individuals that have the skill set to continue to help you to help your internal stakeholders, different business units, because they're looking for more help. So what I've seen, I can't advise, but I've seen is that you start standardizing on the architecture. I think I've seen a pretty strong proliferation in the data architecture. And as I mentioned, larger companies have done a much better job, especially companies such as Netflix, where I have spent some time, and Uber and others. They have been looking at their architecture and saying, all right, why can't we standardize? And when you have a pretty non-standard architecture, you end up having your engineers spread thin. When they're spread thin, when they have to manage such a diverse architecture, then you're wondering how do you get more impact out of them. And that starts, I mean, I would say is that business case should start is that this is what we have, what can we do to refresh the architecture, and what can we do to get additional leverage out of the investment we have made. Present that case study, that business case. And I'm pretty confident, and I've seen this happen over and over. When you present that business case, you get net new dollars as well, because this gets really appreciated is that you are standardizing the data architecture. You are looking at all the blockers that have slowed the growth or slowed your ability to deliver insights to your stakeholders. You want to unblock your stakeholders, and that's a good starting point. I think that we should always start inside out, just clean up things, standardize the architecture, and next set of investments will automatically follow.
Well, it's interesting because, replacing an architecture, I mean, who wants to pay for that? Which business, which app, which project's going to pay for that? But maybe by combining, you're thinking of and analyzing what's the opportunity cost, going back to what Prashant talked about, opportunity cost and fear. The opportunity cost of trying to maintain the patchwork, maintain this jumble, trying to force fit new things into this old architecture. Maybe that's where the opportunity and the focus is on in the architecture space. Certainly a challenge for everyone. Ryan, you have one area where you advise people to focus in the coming year. What becomes possible? Where do they get the highest and quickest return beyond what you've already talked about in terms of new revenues?
Yeah, it's hard not to just double down on that, right? But I do think I would say there's an interesting. I agree with Jitendra on architectural standardization as being really important, and I see that. We see that a lot in our customer base is that they haven't done that, and it makes things really hard when it comes to building new initiatives. I would say a couple pieces of advice. If you are going to go down that road, one of the things that has worked for me in the past, and before, I work at a vendor now. I've been in consulting. I was a partner at a analytics consulting firm for 6 or 7 years, and one of the things that I've really seen worked when it comes to making new technology investments is actually if you can pair the sunsetting and the efficiency gains of getting rid of old stuff with the cool new thing, right? And I've seen people try to do one or the other, and especially if you go in and you just say, hey, like we just need to modernize this architecture. I need $1.5 million so that we can sunset database vendor X. You can get approval for that. But the danger on the other side of that process sometimes is if the things that the human beings actually interact with, whatever it is, the reports, the databases haven't changed, it's the same old stuff, then at some point someone's going to turn around and go, what did we spend that $1.5 million on? Because like the report I download is the same old PDF I've always used, right? And so pairing, we're going to address this urgent new need with this new technology. And we can also take this data that resides on this old architecture and move it into new architecture as well. I have seen be a pretty potent combination. So in a way, it's almost like, we've talked about like vitamins and painkillers. And if you can get both, right, then everybody's healthier in the end.
Wow. To everyone's good health. And I think, thank you guys. Really a lot of great insights into what's going on as we leave 2024, what are some of the opportunities in 2025, not only just higher level, higher order guidance and coaching and advice, but also some real hands-on counsel that I think will hold people in good stead, especially focused on human aspects. Vitamins and aspirin and fear and greed, because that's really the element where we essentially get everything done eventually. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing your insights. And hope to have all you guys back on a future episode. Just really great inputs. With that, Ryan, you ready to send us out?